Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dual Screens podcast. I am one of your hosts, Stephen Fontana, returning. I don't even know when the last time you saw me on this because we've recorded so many episodes. Andy doing so many solo, me joining. It's chaos. The last quarter of this year has been absolute chaos, but the content keeps on coming. And speaking of Andy, he's in that other box. How you doing, Andy Hazamakis?
You were in the last one last week.
Okay, good. No, that's great. That's great. But not really. Because
so this is the next one after last week.
Is it?
It is.
Okay. See, that's what you're here for, folks. On YouTube.com/DualScreensTV.
You're definitely on the show.
Joining us this week are Sebastien and Thomas. They are developers of Alchemic Cutie, a wholesome, relaxing RPG where players will tame wild jellies, meet villagers, enter jelly competitions, and uncover the secrets of Wimba Island, and of course, pick up lots and lots of poop. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is great. Third time's a charm. We're supposed to record this about 2 hours ago. That was my bad. Could have recorded it last week. That was your bad. But yeah. We're here and we're doing the thing. And for those of you who have no idea what this show is, this is the Dual Screens podcast. This is an indie developer interview show where we love to bring on developers, voice actors, everybody else to come on and talk about their story, to give us their perspective on the business. And of course, we're the best one out there, starring two people you've never heard of probably. The show posts each and every week on your favorite podcast service of choice. Just search Dual Screens Podcast, and of course as a video version on youtube.com/Dual Screens TV. And if you want to support us on Patreon, it is so easy. You can get into our super secret VIP Discord channel if you support us at any one of our Discord tiers, and that is Patreon or Patreon tiers, patreon.com/NDS podcast. And we want to thank our three Patreon producers, Colton the Apprentice Nestler, FNH Paul, and Vegas Girl on Fire. We cannot continue to grow without all of your support. And as a matter of fact, it is a direct reason your support made it possible for us to be able to afford separate channels now for all of our podcasts. So if you used to listen to the Crossplay podcast on this channel, it now has its own podcast channel. So please go into your favorite podcast service. Right now we're awaiting Apple approval, but go into your favorite podcast, type in Dual Screens Crossplay podcast. It will show up there. Subscribe there. And also we debuted a brand new show called Faction Wars, a New World podcast, a podcast all about the latest tips, tricks, news, and views for New World. Now, let's just dive right into the thing. Andy, I'm going to give you the ceremonial first question here. Andy, what do you got for me? What do you got?
What do the jellies taste like?
Oh, interesting.
Probably depends on the color.
Oh, I see.
Interesting.
So there's a color that's called cake, so I assume maybe that one tastes like cake.
Some sort of cake. I feel like if there's anyone that would know and not have to assume, it would be you, Sebastien.
I haven't tasted one, and I don't think anybody in the game has tasted one.
Interesting.
As far as I know.
Interesting.
But,
I mean, they seem to be like everywhere, so they're like the chickens of the world, or like
pigeons.
Yeah, on the island. Yeah, they're less common on other places, but definitely they're crawling all over them.
Indeed. So you say, okay, so it depends on the color, you assume. Okay, so like you have your blue jellies, right? Now, do you go the typical blueberry, or are we talking about like blue raspberry?
It could just be like artificial blue. I don't know if you
like Arctic blue, like Arctic Blast.
Not an actual flavor.
No, it's that quarter drink blue, Steven.
Right.
That like blue 40 shit.
Like, have you ever gotten a drink it's like a plastic drink and then it has a foil top?
Yeah, the quarter drinks.
That's what I'm talking about.
Quarter drinks.
It probably tastes like
they kind of look like hand grenades. Yeah. Those guys. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, no, that's great. And I believe it or not, I believe that is blue raspberry. Believe it or not.
Exactly what those things would taste like. Everything tastes like red 45.
Yeah, exactly.
Yellow dye number 5. Have you ever actually seen a blue raspberry? I digress. So before we get into this head first, why don't you give everybody kind of the elevator pitch? Either one of you could take this. The elevator pitch. What is Alchemic Cutie? What will players be doing? And just kind of get into it.
You can go ahead, Tom.
Oh, okay. So Alchemic Cutie, it's sort of this RPG where you catch little jellies, you raise them, you can accessorize them, and you can then enter them into like little jelly competitions, and there's like lots of side quests, lots of characters with lots of backstory, and there's a whole world. So Wimba Island is a massive island that you can explore and catch different shapes and different colors. And yeah, it's and there's different seasons, times of day, so on, your usual, farming RPG, except we don't have farming, but you're catching, I guess it's I don't want to say it because I know it's going to annoy Sebastien, but I'm going to say it's Slime Rancher meets Stardew Valley.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. No, that's. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair. But you know what? It's more unique than that. Like it really may to the untrained eye go in and say, oh yeah, it's like this and this. But like when you really get into it, it's pretty divergent from that. And I assume that's why Sebastien wants to punch you in the throat when you say that.
No, everybody. I think Stardew Valley looks nice. It's just everybody says it looks like Stardew Valley, and I'm like,
sure.
No, it looks like the thing that I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, even from like a graphical perspective, like there's way more detail in these sprites than I see in Stardew Valley, and these just look much cleaner and nicer. Just saying.
Yeah.
Sorry, Stardew Valley.
Let's put it this way: you're not playing Stardew Valley because it's beautiful. You're just.
But this game, you are a little bit.
You kind of are, yeah. And you're like, oh, here we go.
It's like gameplay and beauty.
Exactly.
It's like all things happening at once plus jellies.
Exactly. How many jellies are in this bad boy?
So the jellies are spawned in the world, kind of randomly. So we have a set number of colors and shapes and traits, and depending on where you are in the world, they'll come up with different configurations. So, if you want to take like the marketing approach of it, there's thousands and thousands, right? If you match up all different colors and shapes. But there's specific locations where you can find them. So we've planned them out as far as what would show up.
So even on
too much of a definite answer there.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Like even from a visual aspect, there's, if you're really kind of to break down where all the combinations come from, you've got like 32 different shapes of the jellies. You've seen some of them with like the cat ears and some of them with bunny ears.
Yeah.
And then you've got like 32 different colors, and then on top of that you've got all the accessories and stuff as well. So
sure. But there isn't a finite amount out there in the wild. You can kind of just go and just grab whatever and just kind of have fun with it.
That's pretty cool. So
cool.
It's not, in that respect, it's not like Pokemon where there's a set number of different kinds.
Right.
Yeah, you find the different kinds in the wild, and you can also make the different kinds on your farm by making them labeled.
And what are the mechanics in order to catch said jelly?
You just walk up to it and play flute on it, and it dances, and you touch a balloon, and it floats back.
Ah.
Yeah, it's got some like MGS5 faulted recovery shit going on.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. I was just gonna say the same thing. It's like, oh yeah, balloon, you're out. Go.
Yeah, that was a big problem we had early on in the development. We were like, how do we transport them? Because it was kind of ridiculous thinking that the player would carry 50 jellies on her backpack, because we noticed that everyone was going around wanting to catch every single jelly they came across.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, how can we get them to go back to the farm? And then Sebastien said, why don't we just do the MGS5 kind of thing and just attach a balloon to them? I was like, okay.
Genius. Yeah, it would. Go ahead, Andy.
No, I'm saying watching them move along the map on the balloon is the most satisfying.
It's very cute.
Animation. Just watching them go, I'm like, I could watch this all day. It's so mesmerizing.
And it's not horrifying to them, which I think is the best part, because they're like, yay, we're going to the farm. Not like, oh God, what is this? Why? And they're just getting pulled away by this stranger that happened upon them in the forest or some shit. It takes a completely different tone than if you were walking around with like a straw and just being like sucking them up and spitting them in a bottle. I guess that could have been one of the other options. Just spit it in one of the milk bottles or whatever, and just you have them around your waist and just bring them to the farm and dump them out.
It sounds a lot like Pokemon. You put them in little.
Exactly. Except you have to see them. You know what I mean? Like you have them in a clear glass jar, so you have to see their agony as you spit them into this glass.
So where did this idea come from?
Oh, why are you giving normal questions for?
No, yeah, I gotta go do some normal because I have some abnormals I want to get.
I know. I'm just joshing.
You gotta get to the normie ones before you get to the crazy ass ones, Steve. That's how.
Yeah. So it was it originally comes from a Flash game prototype that I did a long time ago. Basically, you had like a petri dish, and you had these like little cells that had like, you know, smiley faces and stuff, and you'd give them different like chemicals and they change and things like that. It ended up not going anywhere after that, but eventually when Tom and I decided we were going to make a game, we just had like a list of ideas, and that was one of the ones on there, and we're like, well, you know, maybe we could change it to like jellies or something. Like, I think first we had the name Alchemic Cutie, and they were like, yeah, it's gonna be alchemy, and then there's gonna be jellies, and they're like, okay, well, sounds kind of similar to this, so we'll just use that concept.
How did the two of you guys get together? Like as a team?
Well, he paid me to do artwork once.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so on one of his previous projects, and then I think was it an entire year after that?
No, I think it was only a few months or so.
Yeah, a few months later, I was just like, well, I like making games, but right now, at the time, I was just doing art, and I was like, well, who do I know who's a programmer, who is easy to work with? So I sent an email.
But Tom, how did you find Sebastien to begin with, in order to hire for the art? Was it like you were just posting in like a forum or something, and he was like, "Hey, I could do it"?
No, I think I might have found them via Twitter or maybe Reddit.
Yeah,
and then like I saw like his portfolio on Tumblr.
Yeah, there's a subreddit called Game Dev Classifieds. I don't know if it's still active or not, but I used to post there a lot to get the contract work, and I think he contacted me there.
That's awesome, man. And then you guys just kind of hit it off, and now here you are making a damn cute video game about jellies. You love to see it.
I was browsing through Sebastien's portfolio earlier this morning, and I can see why he was a perfect fit for this game. I'm gonna throw a picture in the chat right now, and Steven.
Oh, okay.
Somehow I think this is ironic, maybe.
It is a little bit. Steven, do a timestamp because it's gonna go in the video at some point because it's too good not to put in the video at some point.
12 minutes.
It's so damn good.
You're sending it to
okay. It's in the Zoom chat, so I can see why with this sort of vision you'd want someone to be behind a game as cute as Alchemic Cutie.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I could absolutely see that.
Can you describe that for us, Steven, what you're seeing now happening on the screen for our audio listeners?
I absolutely can. The other thing that I can do is show it live right here, but I'll just find it real quick, and we'll just put it up here.
I was cracking up. I'm like, oh, I like this guy. And you've done like a horror game, right, Sebastien, before?
I don't know if I'd call it a horror game, but it's definitely
or something.
Here it is.
Something
a little bit
more,
darker than
something dark and depressing.
Here we go.
Yeah, it was a game called Disorder. It was a platformer, where it's one of those switching back and forth platformers where you can make things appear and disappear.
There it is.
There's a little bit darker theme.
there it is, ladies and gentlemen. You'll love to see it. You'll love to see it. It is a young man, I think, a young man that is having a very good time on a swing that is fastened to a tree, much like a tire swing, except there's no tire. Instead, there is his neck. That's how I would explain that.
I was gonna say it's one of our former guests. That's how I would best describe that image.
Oh goodness. And we're back. We got our videos back here. Oh Lord, what did I do?
But that's awesome. Yeah, the art is an amazing part of this game. Everything is just teeming with life and detail. It feels like this is an actual like lived in world. You're walking around and exploring and talking to people and catching jellies and picking up poop.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, actually, the majority of, at least for the environment, is done just with like tiles. Hopefully, when we have like some mod support in the future, like people will just be able to use those tiles and make something that's consistent with that. So
very cool.
That would be awesome.
I dig.
Goodness gracious, it's still on my screen.
I actually had to act that out partially to get it to.
I get it. You write what you know, and all art has some grounds and some truth there. I
had a pull-up bar.
Yeah, absolutely. So this game, as of this recording, is just a couple of days out there according to your Steam page. I don't know if that. I know that I feel like you were on Xbox a little earlier. Is that wrong?
Yeah,
It's not wrong.
That's not
yeah,
wrong.
we went
Okay.
on.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we were out in October, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Because one of our friends, Miss Envy, actually begged us to get you on the show. And I remember her playing a little earlier than a couple of days ago. So what's the reception been like? How do you guys have a nice little following now? What's going on?
I'd say pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wants to be, the next Minecraft, obviously.
Right. Of course.
Or whatever. But I think that the reception's been good, especially a lot of feedback from people who've been playing. Tom and Shemek have been able to fix a lot of the bugs that come in for a couple days. We actually just put out a patch.
Yes, I saw that.
A couple hours ago.
Yeah.
So, and we're definitely getting a lot of feedback and seeing, not just on the bugs, but on things we can improve.
Yeah.
We already have some plans on making some, I wouldn't call it like a big content patch necessarily, but definitely making some big changes so that people have a better time playing things like so tedious.
Sure. So you do plan on kind of continuing this little train for a little while, as improve things, and whether it's polish things up or change some things around based on feedback. But do you have anything? Do you have like a roadmap in your head of like some things that you do want to add outside of the scope of just making things a little bit better? Like, do you have ideas for quote unquote content?
Yeah, of course we do.
Yeah.
The only reason I didn't bring it up specifically is because I don't want to be in a position where it's like, oh, it's going to have this, and then something happens.
No, listen, we've interviewed well over 200, middle 200s developers. Like we understand that there's what you want to do, there's the ambition, and then there's the reality. But ambition is what drives us all. So having you guys on here to tell your story, the ambition part is like kind of the best part. Like it's where we get to know your passions, we get to know what drives you and stuff like that. So why don't you would you feel comfortable just telling us like the kinds of things that you would be looking to, not necessarily that you want, that you're going to do it, but just stuff that you thought would be cool
after something as poignant as that, of course. The first thing we want to do is we want to update the deliveries, just as far as improvement, just starting there. Making it easier to access and things like that.
Sure.
We did have contraptions in the game at an earlier stage, and those are machines that like run on the poop, and you can use them to like, automate certain things and stuff like that.
Sure.
So we definitely want to revisit that concept. And then, given that almost everybody who's seen the game or asked about the game has asked if there's farming in it, we are considering putting in some kind of farming aspect. So partially just so that you won't always have to travel, all the way across the map to get a certain item.
Right.
And make that judgment how you want to dedicate your resources to, if you want to farm it or if you're just fine just walking over there.
That's smart.
I don't mind walking around for shit. I don't got to farm.
Literally.
I want to farm. I'll play a very specific kind of game if I want to do some farming.
Yeah.
I just want to watch Jellies fight to the death.
Oh God.
Well, I'm actually glad. Well, not necessarily to the death. I'm not glad you brought that up, but we are doing some updates on the competitions as well. We think there's definitely some room for improvement for that, and ultimately, if we could add some more, that'd be good. But we just have to see what priorities come up.
Walk us through what that looks like for those who don't know what the jelly competitions are like in this game.
Tom?
Yeah, so we have 4 different competitions at the moment. And so the first one you'll come across will be a jelly splash in the summertime. And it's sort of a swimming competition where the player and the NPCs will line up at the edge of the docks, and they'll pull back their jellies to stretch them to give them a sort of launching boost into the water.
Yeah.
And then they release them, and then the jellies kind of swim to the finish line. And it's sort of like the idea for the competitions was kind of inspired by I don't know if you know the Chow Garden from Sonic Adventure.
Oh
Yeah.
yes. Oh, I see that. Okay. Oh, that's really neat.
So so there's different competitions, and you can kind of like cheer the jellies on and give them a boost, and stuff. So
Yeah.
So you're not really controlling the jellies. You're sort of cheering them on, while they
like a
while
proud
they do their
papa.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, most of the preparation on the competitions comes from like raising the jellies, increasing its stats, and things like that. There's also a jelly buffet competition where you have to eat your jelly has to eat all the items first. There's a sumo competition where you push the other jelly out of the ring. And then there's a jelly vogue competition where they have to give you the best performance. Like
I'd like to see that competition sort of mindset revisited after one or two of you watch like Squid Game. It's like, I have some ideas now for what these jellies can really be doing to each other.
That might be a fun little segment for later, Andy, if we come up with a couple of competitions of our own. I already got like two already immediately came to mind. And don't worry, they're not terrifying. I'm not trying
What I would do is you'd have them fight to the death, and then you'd have like an actual a human jelly, like a KY jelly grudge match kind of thing, like in dead jellies.
Dead jellies, yeah. No, that's horrifying. And I think that's a different video game, Andy. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think that's this game. It has cutie in the title.
It's very creative.
It does.
I can say that.
It does. And like, that's one of the things where I was like, am I gonna like this game with the word cutie in the title? It seems like I should be playing this game. Like, this is a so not me game. But it's got good sprite work, and I'm like, I gotta
give it a try.
It looks good.
Yeah, you gotta do it.
It looks good, and then it's like, fuck, it's actually a cute game that's actually well made.
It's kind of fun. Yeah,
it makes me wish.
You have the loop.
It makes me wish for my Steam Deck like right now, so I can play it like on the way to work, on the shitter,
Yeah, we've got a lot of people asking about it on Switch, which definitely we're planning on releasing on Switch and also PlayStation. So
nice.
whether
it's the Steam Deck or the Switch, there will be some like mobile options.
Yeah. Don't worry, you will not be left alone on the toilet without it.
Without my jellies, I can poop alongside them.
So, yeah.
As long as you pick it up. So what does the player get out of these competitions? Like what's the purpose of the competitions for the player?
Well, part of it's bragging rights. Obviously, your jelly gets a little medal in there.
Hell yeah, it does.
Details page.
Yeah.
The other thing is just like kind of items and things like that are hard to get. So, there's a functional reward to it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of there isn't in some other games that do things like that. When you look at Pokemon for like the beauty contests, it's like, what are you getting? Really, nothing you care about.
Yeah.
Nothing important. It's not a barrier to entry anywhere. It's just kind of a little side thing. But because this is like a main part, I thought maybe explaining why you're doing this would be helpful to players who are still on the fence. There is a reason for it. It is it is a driver, and you're definitely going to want to do it. So
yeah, and again, like I said, we're planning on doing some updates on the jelly competitions. So soon that'll be in, and there'll be more to it there.
Where do the jellies come from?
Like literally, like their existence, where they come from in the game.
He wants the lore.
I want some lore here if we can do it.
I have a vague idea, but I don't. I couldn't really tell you. They just kind of exist on the island at this point.
Right. Okay.
There is some backstory, but I'd rather not get too much into it.
I got a better question.
No.
Okay.
How do jellies lay eggs? You would think it'd be more like, a little chunk of it would just break off, and that's like the new jelly.
Yeah, like
these things are laying eggs like they're fowl or chickens or birds.
Right. Right.
And
reptiles.
They lay eggs
reptiles, because it's cute.
That's basically it.
Oh, that's the best answer.
Wait, Andy, think about it. If a little piece of it comes off, what if a little piece of it comes off and then it dries up and becomes an egg, and so that the jelly can form inside of that hard shell and then crack open and become a jelly again? Think about it.
That's exactly what it is.
There you go. Nailed it.
Nailed it. There's your answer.
Write it down. See, we're creating lore here. Actually, as a matter of fact, we might be in the credits by the time this podcast is done. Get throw us in there as lore. Dumb idiots. Oh, good times. Good times.
Oh, lordy.
Andreas.
Oh my God. I do want to ask about, so when you're the main vision or direction from this game, does it come from, is it Tom that's telling you, Sebastien, or is it just like, how does the process work on that end? Is he saying draw this thing that's in my brain and then you doodle it out for him?
It just depends on the situation. I mean, so for example, with like there's a UI thing, then we'll both go over and say, okay, well, what does this need? I'll come up with a concept for it, and then we go back and forth on that. I mean, most of we basically, I mean, we're co-creators. We have our own specific domains, basically.
Right.
I don't really go into the code and start tweaking things unless it's within, my allowance. We have like certain XML files or things like that. I can configure something, but I don't touch things with Java. And in that same respect, Tom doesn't, mess with any pixel art. So
yeah.
We have our own responsibilities.
And you guys collaborate on the vision of it? Like, you're both kind of like co-directors, co-creative, whatever.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating to hear how the different groups come together and create, because like we get stories from people that went to college together, they're a team, husband and wives, siblings, people who have never met each other. I think we had guests that had never actually seen each other in video before coming on our show. We've had so many different variations of teams kind of forming together, and it's always a very interesting story to hear how you guys, like, for example, just finding each other, contracting each other out to do some stuff, and now all of a sudden you're kind of forming this little group. Do you have other team members that you collaborate with, or is it just the two of you guys?
Yeah, so we have just before I talk about the team, I just want to say that me and Sebastien, we worked together for like 3 years before we ever met in person. So the first time we met in person was at Gamescom, when we were like pitching to publishers and stuff. And
if you can't tell, he has an accent.
Yeah, he's
a little bit.
He's not from the United States.
Yeah, I'm not from America.
Never would have guessed.
Yeah, I'm from Ireland, so there's always a time zone problem.
So you said you met at Gamescom, is that what I heard? Sorry.
Yeah, so the first time we ever met in person was at Gamescom, when we had like the prototype done and we were showing it. We were part of the not the Indie Mega booth, what do they call it? The Indie Arena, I think it was at Gamescom. And we were, so we met, sorry, I'm falling over myself here. So we were part of that arena, and so we were showing we had a booth there and we were showing off the game, and then I was kind of running around like a headless chicken to different publisher meetings, and while Sebastien was kind of holding down the fort. So though Sebastien was on a few Twitch streams during it.
Well, at least the one,
yeah. So it was
when did this whole thing start with you, like on this project?
Say like 2015.
Oh,
maybe.
Oh boy.
Oh, so you guys you've been at it quite a bit.
Yeah, like Sebastian's like, it's like, oh God, has it been that long?
No, well, I like to be specific and say over the course of that many years.
Yeah.
I mean,
right, because you also still did contract. Right, exactly.
For a lot of the development.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a full-time thing until really after we got a publisher.
Right.
So,
yeah, like 2018, late 2018. Yeah.
Talk about that process. How'd you guys nail the publisher down? What was that all like?
It was pretty tricky. So basically what happened was, like, we were working on the game and we were both kind of doing it in our spare time, which was tricky for me because I was still working as a developer in a startup, and so I was often traveling for work, so I always had to like figure out what time I had to call Sebastien out.
Right.
So like, because it was like, okay, so Sebastian's, because we'd always call it out about like 1 p.m. Eastern time, but I always had to figure out like, okay, so 1 p.m. Eastern time, what time is that in Tokyo? What time is that in Dubai? What, like I'd be traveling for different customers for my job, and it was always sometimes I had to get up at like 6 a.m. to call Sebastien and give him a status update on where I am with things. And but then what happened was, like, one day I guess I I'd say you could say I kind of rage quit my job.
Sure.
Oh boy.
So like I'd been in that job for a long time, and just things were not progressing. You know, the usual stuff of being promised stuff and then stuff doesn't happen. You know,
Sure.
in the kind of corporate world.
Yeah.
You know, the startup was no longer a startup, and so on. And just one day I just said, no, I'm done, no more. You know, and so I had built up a bit of savings, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to spend the rest of the year trying to get this game, you know, off the ground. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, worst case scenario, I just go back and get a job somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
So so I spent about 6 months. So I left that job in like May of 2018, and then spent about 6 months going to different conferences, pitching to publishers, and then and it was just as we were like about to run out of money, we got an offer, and it was it all kind of worked out in the end. But it's kind of going through that, like I say, we probably went through about 20 publishers pitching the game. So, and like when you go through 20, you're kind of really starting to go, it's like, oh boy, is this game bad? Like is it you know, what, maybe there's just something we're not seeing, you know, or
right.
But I've since kind of learned that that's sort of normal, you know, like it's unless you have like a big hit that just blew up on Twitter or something, you know, that kind of way.
Right.
But like for most games, that is the sort of normal process, because, you know, it's not just whether it's a good game, it's whether does it fit in with the publisher brand, does it fit in with the timing for market release, does it, you know, and we also had the challenges that was kind of coming to the end of the PS4, Xbox One generation, so that a lot of publishers were like, oh no, we only want games that can come out in the next 6 months, you know, and we were like, well, that's not possible for us, you know.
Right.
And we actually did turn down one offer. It was kind of one of the I think it was like the 6 or 7 publisher we met. They want us to do it in half the amount of time with half the amount of budget, and I was just like, and me and Sebastien were like, no, that's not possible, like, you know, like.
Yeah, I mean, at least you had that foresight to know, like, and not just jump at it because it was, you know, an offer you finally got. Like, you understood, and I'm sure that bodes well for the way you manage your project, right? Like, you understand it, you understand what goes into it. You're not lying to yourself just because you're making this game and you want to get it done and you want the help. So that I think that's admirable, and a lot of it would be developers out there, if you're listening, if you're watching. I know of some of you personally that want to make games and you listen to the show to get pointers and all that. Be honest, man. Be honest with yourself and be honest with people that want to work with you, or you know, there's no sense in just jumping at that first opportunity just because it's an opportunity.
Yeah, and the other thing that's, I guess, kind of ironic is that after you have a publisher and you start going to shows, like an even more developed product, then other publishers come by and be like, hey, do you got a publisher? And it's like, where were you like 6 months ago?
Yeah, we actually had one publisher who turned us down, and then next year we were at EGX and they came up to us again. They're like, oh wow, this game looks great. Like, do you guys have a publisher? And I'm like, we talked to you last year. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I would have been like, oh no, we don't actually, and you string them along for like a really long time. I had to buy you a few dinners, you know.
Yikes. Andy, is it about that time, you think?
I think it's about that time, Steven.
All right, it's time for our very special segment here. It is our rapid fire segment. This is where we're going to get to know the two of you as people. We're going to get to the very core of your essence, of your existence. It's going to be very simple. All right. We're going to give you some questions. You're going to tell us the answer. That's it. That's the game. Do
we both answer, or
you'll see. You'll see.
Okay.
All right. We're going to go with a scenario first, and it's one of my favorite scenarios to do when we have multiple guests. Okay. Tom, you get a phone call. You pick it up. It is the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Sebastien has been arrested. What is his crime?
I would say he got locked out of his house by accident and but he had no pants on for some reason. And so police came by and thought he was thought he was some crazy guy trying to break into his own house.
Got it.
And Sebastien couldn't explain it quick enough, and it just snowballed from there. Yeah.
I think the least realistic part of that is that I wouldn't be able to explain it quick enough.
Well, listen, when guns are drawn, you never know what happens. Sebastien, same question, same scenario, but it's flipped. Tom has been arrested. What was his crime?
Oh, and the Garda called me. I would say probably he would have ended up back in Dubai, and he's caught up in some kind of money laundering.
Oh, laundering money in Dubai.
Yeah.
Look out.
I will say there was some questionable transactions in my old job. where I'll just say that the CEO was not 100% clean in his. Sure. And this goes on the internet, right? Yeah, I do. Yeah. Okay. All right. Just making sure. I'm just saying there are some countries in the Middle East that they welcome brown envelopes that contain certain things. Gotcha. Yeah. Anyway,
maybe I'm not actually guessing then. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. This is actually
What just happened? I
don't know. When is the next season of Ozark coming out? I'm gonna put that on my schedule. I love how those are two different kind of answers.
Sure.
One's like a victim of circumstance, like maybe the doorbell rang while I was getting out of the shower. I'm not wearing any pants. The door locks behind me.
It was trick-or-treaters, so now he's on a list.
Laundering money for the cartel, probably.
Yeah.
Well, Tom's a talented guy, so I figured, why put him down on the low level?
That charm. Yeah.
And this is the front. This game is the front. I made a game with the name Cutie in the title. How could I be a money launderer?
Andy, hit us up with a question.
Between the two of you, who is more like a jelly in personality?
I would say I'm actually probably closer to a jelly. I'm a lot more relaxed than Tom is.
Oh yeah, I'd say that. Yeah. Unless it was a really high-strung, stressed-out jelly, it would be Sebastien.
All right, here's a good one. I'm looking for honesty here. The two of you are in a fight, hair versus hair. The loser shaves their head. Who's winning that fight?
Well, Sebastien does a lot of pull-ups, so
Sebastien has beautiful hair right now. I
think he has the most to lose. That's why.
That's what I'm saying. I think he might be a desperate man.
And Tom's actually a lot taller than I am. I didn't find that out till we met in person.
See. So you're going like based on like physical attributes. I'm going based on emotional attributes because I know what it's like to lose your long hair, and
I would agree with that, but the long hair is actually just within like the past year.
Oh,
for almost the entirety of my life, I just shave my head constantly.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you may be all out of fucks to give. So you may just lay down. You just might lay down for old Tom here. Interesting.
Yeah, maybe I value the friendship more than
I understand.
Than the hair.
Yeah, Andy.
It's funny. I'm looking at a profile for Sebastien on the Alchemic Cutie blog, and he has like very short hair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but it's like a post from like 4 years ago. It was like his hair grew in real time between that post and today. Yeah. It's like he hasn't cut it since. All right, the game is out, and it's selling like hotcakes, and you guys are bajillionaires, and you're getting very, very drunk. Yes. Sebastien, what word best describes Tom when he's been drinking too much?
Oh, he's like
oh God.
I'm trying to think how to describe this. I don't think he's gonna have a good read on me because I actually don't drink that much, but
I will preface whatever his answer is with "I am Irish," so I am.
So he's much more loud and much more friendly, I would say.
Say, Tom, are you drunk right now? Is my next question.
No, I do have a beer in the fridge that I could crack open.
Yeah,
as you should.
Yeah, I think he has poor volume control.
Good.
But he's still a nice guy, so nothing to worry about. He's just yelling really nice things loudly.
Yeah. He's like, is he the guy at the bar that gets really close to your ear to tell you something, but because it's a little loud in the bar and just fucking yelling in your face, and you're just like, yeah, man, totally. I'm gonna go over there now, man. I'm gonna go here. Please don't do that to my eardrum. Same question, Tom. What about Sebastien?
Sebastien, well, actually, just the thing, he doesn't have to be drunk, but being drunk does help him in this. Is that Sebastian's a dancer. He will he will bust the moves. Like I don't mean like
the Macarena.
I don't mean kind of terrible.
You're not doing the Urkel.
Yeah, not terrible dancing. Like Sebastien has moves, and like people watch him dance.
Wow.
And like so anytime that he starts dancing, like that's a crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
So that's
all right.
That's Sebastien.
Okay, well, I'll accept that. Thank you.
So you become a performer, as it were.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, it was so funny. Like when we were at the EGX Birmingham, there was like a night event for like people who were part of the show, and Sebastien was just dancing away, and people were like actually standing back, like looking at him, like busting his moves. I was like, okay, I guess
they
do that now.
They do the exact same thing when I dance, but it's because they're wondering if I'm seizing. So they're just wondering if they need to call an ambulance, but usually I'm okay.
Get the
ADD kit, as long as you feel fun and you're having a good time, it's all good.
Sure. Says the dancer. Would you guys rather have the flight or power of flight or invisibility?
I don't actually like traveling that much, so I'll take invisibility. I'm a homebody.
I like to travel, so yeah, that'd be flight probably.
Okay, look at that.
We are opposites, so
yes, the two of you are about as opposite as it comes. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. I'm going to ask this question to both of you, but I'll ask Tom first. If you could take a super serious or even a horror game franchise and make it super cute, which franchise would that be? And what would be? Give me a little bit of a quick pitch for what the game would be like.
So I'm a big fan. When it comes to horror series, I'm generally not a fan of like the jump scare series. Like I'm very into like the atmosphere, kind of like Soma or Silent Hills, so I'd say maybe Silent Hill as my one.
Okay.
And we'd have like a little maybe like Pyramid Head would be like a little spoiled kid or something.
Okay.
Running around.
Pyramid Head daycare.
Yeah, Pyramid Head daycare. Yeah.
That's great. It's like all geometrical shaped kids, like Pyramid Head, Circle Head. Oh,
and he has like the
head.
shape game, but he can't get it to work right.
Yeah. It's just the origin story of why he's a terrible murderer.
Yeah.
Sebastien.
Funnily enough, I thought of Silent Hill as well, as far as like the first horror game that came to my mind. But I think you could probably just make it like a dating sim.
Ooh, Silent Hill dating sim. Wow.
That would be great.
Yeah. I think you could go that direction. I think there's enough. I'm not an expert on cuteness, but there is this weird aspect where the more ghastly something is, there's actually a very good opportunity to still make it cute. Like, look at Slimer, zombie, right?
Look at Slimer from Ghostbusters. Like, he's disgusting, but then he can kind of be cute, in a way. So Andy, I kind of want to answer your question, but I'm going with a movie franchise.
Right, but I'm still stuck on Silent Hill dating sim, like James. I like long walks in the mist, killing my wife.
I like walking back. I like crab walking.
I love 2x4s.
So I would pick a movie franchise. I would pick Freddy Krueger, and it would be Freddy Cuteger. And your whole job, hold on, your whole job is to make good dreams for children.
Oh, God.
Like their dreams are a horror show, and you have to clean it up for them.
Oh my God.
And you
So
put
it's
like,
like Splatoon for
yes,
Right. You're
exactly.
washing
You
away
go in there,
all
but or it's like kind of like it's a little bit like unpacking like a decorator thing where you're like, oh well, I can't have this terrible zombie pinned to the wall. Let me pull that down and put a unicorn. Yeah, that's it. Unicorn. Throw some sparkles on the wall, but you still have the claw on your hand, so it's like shit. What am I?
It's like a handmade of glitter. That's what it really is.
All right, next question. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Oh boy.
Oh God, no.
Oh.
I'm a very picky eater, so my answer is no, and also I've never tasted it.
That's fair.
So-
That's fair.
Pineapple on pizza is like a crime against humanity. So
Interesting.
it's like, so in Ireland you can get it in a few, I think. I'd say most like Domino, like the American brands would have it.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. Please don't use Domino's as your barometer for pizza.
Okay. Well, yeah, like I mean, like
I literally
that's
just
like
ate Domino's last night.
Yeah, but you notice you didn't say I had pizza last night. That's not what you're saying. You had Domino's. That is a very different phrasing.
well,
It's like saying
Like-
I had Papa John's.
Yeah, I had
Lunch.
McDonald's. You didn't have a burger. You didn't have burger and fries.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had barbecue. No, you didn't. You had McDonald's.
Listen, McDonald's is more close to a burger than Papa John's is to pizza or Domino's.
Yeah, I would say. Well, maybe not. There's a lot of high fructose corn syrup in burgers over at McDonald's. Andy, let's get a few more and then we'll.
All right. This is always a fun question for indie devs. If you were given the chance to work on a high profile franchise, like let's say Nintendo was like, you guys are awesome, make us, the next Zelda, the next 2D sprite Zelda game, what franchise would you guys pick to work on? We'll go with Sebastien first this time.
So I'd actually like to work on a Call of Duty game or something like that.
Ooh.
Just because I have this fascination. So they have a lot of cheating in Warzone and stuff, and a lot of hackers.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated with the idea of just letting them do that, but like having it be part of the game. Instead of having to like do all this DRM and all this like back end stuff, and everybody's like freaking out, like, oh my God, I got cheated again. Like make like a handicap system or something like that. So if you want to cheat, you just say, oh, I'm going to turn on my cheats and now I'm going to show up on the map or something. Like there's this adversarial thing between the hackers, the players, and the developers, when it doesn't have to be that way necessarily. So that's why I want to work on one of those.
Wow, that got deep. I didn't expect that at all. Here for it. Thomas.
I would definitely. So when you said Nintendo, I immediately thought Pokemon because that was my sort of first love of RPGs. But if there was a franchise that I could like, and I've always said this, if I ever make $1 billion, I will buy this franchise.
Before you move on.
Yeah.
It's more than that though. You actually worked on a Pokemon game, remember?
Well, that's
then
not...
Nintendo DMCA'd it.
Was it Pokemon Uranium?
No. It was
an MMO.
It was an MMO back in like the late 2010.
Holy
called Pokénet.
shit.
And it got like 50,000 players and like was
oh my God.
and
So
it had
many.
like the whole red and blue like Kanto Johto regions.
Yeah.
It was pretty massive, and yeah, Nintendo definitely did not like that. So
Yeah. So you are a criminal, is what we're saying.
yeah.
Got
I'm
it.
getting
Yeah.
that.
Intellectual property theft. Got it.
Yeah, I got my first. Well, I mean, I was a teenager then, so I didn't really have a concept of intellectual property. It was just like, ooh, this is fun to program, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a fun time. But yeah.
Yeah, back to the $1 billion.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got your $1
my
billion.
bill.
Yeah.
My $1 billion, I would buy the Crash Bandicoot franchise,
Oh wow.
and I would go make a proper like Crash Bandicoot 4 came out, and it was good, but they missed a few things. And even the Insane Trilogy, I'm not a fan of. I like the visuals, like it gets it visually and audio wise, but gameplay wise, they messed a few things up. So
Interesting.
I would really like to, like when I played the Insane Trilogy, it was like wearing the way I describe it is like wearing your shoes on the wrong feet. It just
okay.
felt wrong while I was
Okay,
playing.
yeah.
you know?
Just a little off. Yeah,
Feels a little
Yeah.
strange.
a little
yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. I guess that's maybe muscle memory because I just played those games for like thousands of hours when I was a kid. So
Yeah.
I'd like to get that franchise and really give it a good honorable version, you know.
Got it. Do it justice.
Yeah.
All right, here's an easy question. Cake or pie, which one would you rather bathe in?
Well, what type of pie?
Just you go to the store and you're buying all of the pie and you're just chucking it in the bathtub and you're taking a bath. You're getting it sitting in there all squishy. Or you go to the bakery and you get a bunch of cakes, throw it in the tub and you're getting in there.
Okay. I would say pies because the icing on your average cake that you're just going to find is probably going to be kind of gritty.
Gritty. Okay. You're worried about grit. I got it. No, that's good.
Yeah, like I imagine if you sat in a bathtub of cake, it would you just sit on it rather than sinking into it.
Well, it's not like one solid cake. Like you're gonna wiggle your way in, you know, like you do one of those.
Yeah.
Have you ever stepped on a piece of cake? Like somebody dropped it and you just slip. Whoa! It's like slipping on a banana peel. You'll be all right.
I'm thinking like jagged pie crust that's been baked and
what kind of
pointy,
jagged? What kind of pie do you eat?
Listen, some of the pie crust.
It's not a light bulb. It's not.
I'm just saying. it's got a tough exterior compared to cake.
Yeah. Well, speaking of tough, it's time for the final question, the toughest question you could possibly answer. And Andy, I'm going to let you set this one up.
Oh boy.
Let's do it.
All right, guys. We've asked you a lot of nonsense.
A lot of nonsense.
About what jellies taste like and cake and pie baths and all that fun stuff. But this is where the real interview starts. Right here.
This is it.
At the 59th minute.
This is where we become like cutting edge and we ask the hard-hitting journalist type questions. The CNN worthy type question. Yeah. This is it. The simple question, yet the most complex question of your entire lives. And you can answer individually or as a team. The choice is yours.
As a matter of fact, choose now.
Okay.
Choose now. Are you going to answer this as a team or individually?
Let's do individually.
Okay. Individual answers.
All right.
Just for giggles.
All right. The question is, Andy or Steven?
Ooh. In what context? Though?
Any context you
No,
like.
it's whatever context you can, think of in a little brain of yours. Go for it.
You got that Bulbasaur hat, yeah. But then again, Andy has a nice Super Meat Boy.
Oh yes,
in the
he
background.
does.
Yeah. He's got Mega Man back
well,
there
actually,
too.
What if we change the question?
Oh.
As to who would be the cuter jelly?
Modifier.
Yeah.
So if you got morphed down into a jelly,
Andy automatically wins this because gay jelly is the best jelly.
Everyone
knows that.
I think I am comprised of like 85% jelly, as it is. So,
well, you know what? I'll take the opposite and say no, and because like I said earlier, things that are not already cute, they become very cute once you put them in a different context.
Okay. I don't. This might have been the best bogarting of an answer ever.
Yeah,
like this.
I love it.
You'll love to see
it all.
And I love to see all of you listening and viewing this show. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been the Dual Screens podcast. Thank you so much, Sebastien. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Andy. Remember, folks, hit the thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube, and please review the podcast on your podcast service. There's got to be a review thing. Just click it, read it. If we find a review of the show, we will read it on the show. All right, so get in there and review it, share it with your friends. And are there any other games that you want to have us interview the development team of? yourself. Leave it in the comment sections, or you could tweet at us at duel_screens. I am at Batchild27. Andy is at PantsGuy. Gentlemen, where could everybody follow you? Follow Alchemic Cutie. Follow everything you guys do.
So yeah, we have a Twitter account at Alchemic Cutie. You should be able to find both of us from there, but if not, I'm also on Twitter at Vakerics. A little bit harder to spell. But and then Tom, what is your handle?
Yeah, I'm at Tom_Cashman.
Yeah,
Very original.
Also, we have a Discord, which all of this stuff you can find from our website, alchemiccutie.com, that I have all the links to, social media.
Awesome. And folks, don't worry. As always, we will have those links down in the show description. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Thank you, Tom, again. Thank you, Sebastien. Thank you, Andy. And as always, please be excellent to each other.